We acknowledge the original owners of the land on which we podcast, whose stories were told for thousands of years. Today, we are recording in Meanjin. We pay our respects to elders past and present who may be listening. Sovereignty was never ceded. A quick note before we get started that there may be some swearing in today's podcast. If you don't like swearing or usually listen with children in the car, you have been warned. Hi Sam, how are you going?
Hey Hannah, I'm going well, thanks.
I'm really excited about this episode today.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Who have we got on today?
We've got the amazing Karen Lorenzon. Welcome.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
We're super excited to have you.
Karen, you just come back from Sydney. How was that?
Oh, it was so amazing. The last Sydney event, I only had 20 people, which was amazing with, having a small group. But then we've increased it to 51 people, and it was just a bunch full of people that really loved what they did and wanted to collaborate and wanted to connect, and we're just really like happy-go-lucky providers and loved the innovative way, I guess, that KonnectFEST is, and it really filled my cup, I guess, as they say.
So let's go back and explain a little bit about who you are. Where did you grow up?
So I'm originally from Melbourne in Frankston, but then we moved when we were quite young, and I lived in Ararat, which is a little small town in Victoria. Lived in that small town till I was about in grade 5, and then we moved up to Queensland and then became, I feel like a Queenslander, but still feel like I'm a Victorian at heart at times. It was a really, lovely place to grow up, being in a small town, but then also, having that difference of being in Queensland and having, I guess, the big city life as well allowed me to grow and be who I am. So, yeah.
Awesome. So you've mainly lived in Brisbane. Have you lived anywhere else in Queensland?
No, just Brizzy. Just been a Brizzy girl. I've lived on the south and north side, now based kind of southish away. So yeah,
awesome. And so, how did you get into the disability sector?
Yeah, so I worked in disability employment services. Prior to that, I worked in, like, I guess they call it the generalised employment sector. I did that for 15 years, and then I kind of realised, okay, I want to jump out of that area because I did it for 15 years, loved it, learnt a lot from it, but wanted to experience something different. I wanted to work in the NDIS, but didn't know how and what I wanted to do. I then did support work as an independent support worker, community access, social and community access, for about 6 months with participants. And it's funny, I worked with a lot of, I had a specific kind of people I worked with. I worked with people who were autistic and people who had an intellectual disability. I did that, and then I decided that I did love it. I had a friend, he said, "Are you going to build a mini empire, Karen?" And I says, not really. It's not because I don't love the industry. It's just it wasn't my jam and it didn't set my soul on fire. So then I started to do support worker marketing, which is positive brand awareness marketing, and then filtered into doing little mini events in KonnectFEST, and that's kind of where I am now and just loving it. It is what sets my soul on fire and what makes me happy every day. And I love, I always say to my husband, it's supposed to be a 15-hour per week job. Sometimes there's 15 hours per day. So the part-time element kind of went throughout the window, but I wouldn't change it because I absolutely love what I do.
I think that you love what you do really shines through. And I love KonnectFEST. So tell us.
It is good.
Tell us what KonnectFEST is.
Yeah, so KonnectFEST is really about any provider really coming together and just connecting. I feel like there needed to be a space where it was like anybody from a small to medium to large provider just be together and connecting and helping one another. I feel that providers can't just do it alone. So I felt like let's create a space that allowed providers to connect, but also to learn about other people and not to cost you, an arm and a leg to I guess sponsor an event or, be a part of something, that it was cost effective, but also you got, I guess as they say in the business world, return of an investment that you really gain so much more from KonnectFEST, because it's a space there that you're learning from other providers, you're learning from the speakers, but you're also gaining so much network. And it's not just a network from the people that attend the event, it's their network as well, because I feel that the providers that are coming, they're all wanting to help one another. And if they find out about a cool provider that's there, they're going to tell their friends within their network and say, hey, I met this really cool provider and this is what they're doing, and it's innovative and it's different, and it's not like the boring old same things that really just won't work in the industry. So it is just a really cool, place to come, connect, learn, and just empower one another to succeed and do really well.
Yeah, it's I quite like your connection fest. That's how we all met. So.
Yeah.
And now we're besties.
But we are. But it does.
The three amigos.
Networking's not something that comes naturally to everybody. So do you have any sort of tips and pointers for some of the people that may not feel comfortable getting out and introducing yourself to random new strangers?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's quite a daunting experience of being like, hi, I'm this person and this is what I'm doing. My, I guess, advice is to definitely think about what makes you different and what's your why. Because I personally hate when I talk to providers and they're really not sure what they're doing. And they're like, oh, we do core and capacity. And I'm like, oh, I really want to know more. I need to know, this is what I'm really passionate about. I get really excited when providers are doing things that they're really passionate about and when you talk to them. So when you go up and you're talking to a person, you can either do the old trick of, I know providers do it to me all the time, oh, I love your pink hair. And they always point out something that I'm wearing or something that you have. Maybe that might be easier for a girl to say that. Maybe guys won't work so much. But, it could. Just depends, I guess. But but it can be just, even just rather than going forward and going, oh, hi, hi, Sam, I'm Karen from KonnectFEST, this is what I do. Actually going, hey, Sam, so what do you actually do? What's your why? What are you doing different in the NDIS space? And asking that question, because it relieves that kind of stress and that anxiety that you have to be like, okay, crap, I've got to have I hate that word, elevator pitch, but people love that. I personally dislike it, but I'm like, it allows you kind of just to make you feel a bit more relaxed because you're learning about them. My thing is always to think about, okay, when you're talking to that person, think in your network, in your brain and go, who can I actually connect that person with? And once they've said their little bit, go, oh, look, Sam, I actually know someone that would be really great for you to connect in with. I'd love to actually connect you guys together. Can I grab your business card if it's not being given? So you're essentially showing to them that you're giving rather than just taking, and rather than just blurting out everything about yourself. You're making it more about them rather than the other way around. And then you can start talking about yourself and going, well, I love what you're doing. This is what we're actually doing here in, our business, and talking about, you can talk about your why, you can talk about more about what you're passionate about. Because I feel that when you talk to providers who are really passionate about what they're doing, you get excited as well and you want to learn more and you want to help. But I think if you're just kind of yeah, we do core capacity, it just kind of, you're like, okay, I need more from you. Give me a bit more than just that, because you're like, that could be anything within the NDIS as to what you're doing. But that's kind of, I guess, my tips in regards to it. Also as well, just remember that not everybody, I guess we're all kind of, not maybe everyone, but some people are just faking it till they make it, they're not, everyone else is nervous. It's not all that everybody is really super confident at the events. they're nervous as well. But I think if you give more, you're actually going to gain more from it at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some very, very good advice there. And like Hannah and I were talking earlier before we started recording, and we're saying that even we still get a bit nervous when we go to these events. And how do you sort of get get the confidence to start up a conversation with the person you're sort of walking in with or something like that. So
I mean,
probably
yeah, like I still do as well. Like at times, I remember when I had my first event this year, I was literally curling my hair in my bathroom, and I'm hyping myself up and like kind of re-talking what I'm going to say at the first event I had. And my son's like, "What are you doing, Mum?" And I'm just like, I'm confidence building myself, and I still get nervous, even though it may not be seen. I still get nervous at times because sometimes I am meeting like the Sydney event. I knew maybe probably about 10, 20 people, but 30 other people I didn't know. So I'm meeting essentially 30 new people, and I'm like, cool, this is different, but this is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's days when I get to KonnectFEST and I go, ugh, I do not feel this. I don't know if I really want to talk to people. Why did I decide to come? And then I find once, like, particularly you get started, because usually you have a bit of a spiel first and explain to everyone how it all sort of works. And by the time, and then by the time a few people have spoken, I'm like, okay, I'm right. I'm here.
It allows you to kind of get into the groove of things. So there's a little bit of networking in that beginning part, but I know that people are like at that high point of being super nervous. So then it's like, okay, guys, we have a bit of morning tea, but we can sit down. You can all kind of just chill and just kind of get your nerves back, I guess, and get that confidence and kind of go. But also see the providers that are like, oh, they're doing really cool stuff. Like, oh, I could do it. Like, I could inspire them to maybe change the way they're doing things, or just think it's actually cool to think outside the box and not just be like go with the norm. And then when it comes to lunchtime and it's networking time again, we're eating food, so you can talk about food and then you can also talk about networking, and it's like in a less informal kind of way, rather than like, because KonnectFEST is definitely a chilled kind of environment. It's definitely not corporate or it's just chilled, really.
It is definitely.
Yeah.
It's chill, and I love the times when we get to sit around and chat at lunchtime. That's really awesome, and you get to really get into a good conversation.
Yes.
It's a natural conversation over lunch.
Yes.
Which I really enjoy.
It's not, we're all like eating together. It's not a force, like you must talk, you must, but it's like usually one person starts and then it just kind of goes and becomes more of a natural thing, rather than being like, oh crap, I'm in a room and I have to talk to these random people and it's like really full on and it's scary. It's like, and also you get to eat good food. So it's like, because I love food. So I'm like, I want to make sure it's good food. We're eating good food and we're talking and we're learning, and, you're essentially starting that pre-start of a relationship building, because that's what KonnectFEST is about. It's like it's like a pre-game. We're doing it. You get to really get to know people so that, okay, do I want to actually go out for coffee later on out of the event and actually get to know them even more, which I really love, instead of having like, a 2-minute talk and then you're like, I don't know if I want to talk to that person even more. Like, you need to know a bit more. Which I love.
Yeah, and what I find is even when I don't have a participant for someone right then and there, they might have sparked something in me and I go, oh, that is such a good idea though. And I have it in the back of my head, and even in like 6 months' time, someone then might have come to me and I go, oh, hang on a second, this place that I heard of 6 months ago, are doing something really good in this area that you've just asked me about. So I sometimes encourage people who go to KonnectFEST to not necessarily think you're going to get referrals like that day or that week or whatever, but I might have a referral down the track.
Yes.
And it definitely was worth meeting you at KonnectFEST and seeing you. And so it's definitely worth attending.
Yeah, I 100% believe that, because I never want to say to someone, you're definitely going to get all these like millions of referrals, because I can't quantify that. And I can't quantify how a person would be, like how they do well in the relationship building. That's up to, the provider. But in saying that, like I remember at the Richlands event, there was a group of people there and I knew about 3 of them. And I was like, I just literally said, that person's good for this person's good for this, and this person's good for this. And then the 4th person's like, oh, cool. Like you literally got like a little pink-haired cheerleader pretty much spruiking the business and things like that, and telling people like, hey, they're really cool. But I think it is about the long game, relationship building. It doesn't just... Sometimes it can happen that you meet someone, you're like, oh, I really love them. And it could be just that timing. Like they could be like Hannah, you could meet someone and could be like, oh, cool, I actually do have someone that needs this support right then and there, and you really like what they're doing, and you're like, cool, there could be a potential of referral. But it's not always going to happen like that. And it needs to be that relationship building. And, but it happens to me all the time. People ask me, oh, hey, Karen, do you know of a connection of, some... really could be an obscure thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I met someone at KonnectFEST and somewhere. I'm sure that they can help. Let's connect you guys together. And then it's up to them as to what they do with that connection, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a really good point for networking not being a sales tactic, but a real relationship and connection building, so we can sort of expand more.
Yeah, most definitely. It's not... I think if you come into it really salesy, it doesn't work in this space. It's just not... We're a human-to-human industry, and it's about helping participants. Like they're the main focus and should be, to be able to make sure that they're getting the best service and the best support possible, and not being burnt and not having... unfortunately, there are times that providers have not done the greatest things, and the trauma and the PTSD that comes from that is really bad. And that's why I want, with KonnectFEST, is really cool people coming together, and there's good providers out there. It's all not bad stuff. And for people to realise that there are good people out there that do actually essentially want to help them. And bringing everyone together is truly magical.
Now, you've got a son who's on the NDIS.
Yeah.
What do you look for in providers?
Well, for me, so my son, he's on the NDIS. He got diagnosed at 4 years of age, so he's autistic and he has ADHD. I call him my emotionally charged little man, because he is. I'm like, yeah, it's an interesting times in the day of, it's like, someone's died. I'm like, who died? It was his jelly that he washed himself with. It was not even something that was that I could save, but he was very upset by it. But for me, I guess for providers, for him, and what I want to see in the space is that, like, especially like if I'm looking for providers for him, they need to understand autism. They need to know about the red and green zones. They need to know that the reason why I'm giving you all this information is not because I'm a, crazy parent. It's because I'm giving you the tools to be able to support him the best way possible. So that if he's heightened, or if he's going into that heightened stage, what are you actually going to do? We've had experiences where it's gone bad. And so, that's why I give providers that information to them. For me, I need to know that they understand autism. To me, that is such a big thing. And I think with whatever someone's disability is, I want that provider to... I want them to showcase, and I want them to let the families and let the participants know, yes, I understand that disability. And I understand, like, say, autism is a spectrum. So, yes, you meet one autistic person, you meet another autistic person, they're not going to be the same in similar ways that they do things. But there are going to be some things that are similar that, can be supported. But I think where it comes from is like, I hate when providers say, oh yeah, we can support that person, but they've got no experience, no understanding about the disability, not a care to actually understand that person's disability or how that person could be best supported. I feel like where it comes from, when I see providers, they know who they can support, they know how to support them the best way possible. That's what makes me happy. And I know as a parent, that's what sets my soul on fire, to be like, okay, cool, well, I will connect you, and I'm more than happy for them to support my son, because it is a scary thing. I think people don't realise, well, I think they do realise, but I find it quite ironic that we're in the space where like, okay, well, my son is going to, I don't know, say a support work, they're doing a group session. We're essentially dropping them off at a stranger's place to get supported by a stranger and then go to a strange place. It's just like, it's a bit, I need to make sure that they understand it and understand him to be able to support in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's a really important point that sometimes gets missed in the intake, and the whole complexity that sometimes providers have to go is really trying to understand how best to understand each individual and to be able to support that individual the way that they need.
Yes, and the way that they want as well, because I mean, it's not because I'm just saying for shits and giggles that there's a reason as to why that if you give my son ice that it will help him calm down if he is, getting to that point. It's not, I'm telling you that just because, oh, that's just a fun little antidote. It's like, no, this will help you. Otherwise the red zone's going to go way more. And I guess what I want is that to providers to realise that, if a person is going through a red zone, so they're getting really heightened, it doesn't just stop when I go to pick him up. It can go on for even like a couple hours to even a couple of days, or even to like later on, like if he had a bad experience, he remembers everything and he'll tell me things that happened like 3 years ago. And it's, you're like, yeah, cool, that happened 3 years ago. Can we move past it? Like, but like for him, it feels so still raw. And it's like, you don't want people to experience these things. And that's why, like, it scares me if providers say, oh, I can help you. But then you question it and they're like, no, you really can't. Work within your niche, and what works best for you is actually going to work better for the participants and their families. And there's less trauma and less PTSD that's going to come from it.
Absolutely.
And that's a good core fundamental of trauma-informed supports as well.
I don't think there's enough providers that are trauma-informed, and occasionally it blows my mind how few are trauma-informed. But I was going to pick up on what you said about, having a niche, because even as a support coordinator, and I have children on the NDIS as well, and what drives me nuts is the people who say they can be all things to all people and they end up being nothing to nobody.
Yeah.
And we need you to be focused.
Yes.
And if you think you understand autism, just do that and do it really well. And then we'll be able to trust you with that. Or, some providers are like, oh, we're more in the physical disability space, or we're more in the mental health space, or, and then even in like physical space, there's some people who go, we're specific for cystic fibrosis or for cerebral palsy or, like, be specific, because then people know they can trust you with their person who has that diagnosis.
Yeah.
And of course, we know that even within every single diagnosis, everybody's different. But if we know that you understand this in a general sense and know that everybody's different within that diagnosis, we can feel more secure that your support workers deal with this day in, day out and are trained in it. And so we can definitely trust that you can do that. And so I always encourage providers who ask me for advice, please pick a niche, please.
Yeah. No, I 100% believe that. Like, it just, when I talk to providers and you find out, you might talk to one provider and they really know what they're doing in their niche, and I get so excited because I'm talking to them and I'm like, yes, you know what you're talking about. Yes, you have those skills. You've hired people that have fit that niche and fit that bill. It's actually better for your business, I believe so, in the NDI space, to have that niche and to be really good at it, because it is scary. you know, as I said, we've had experiences where a provider said that they did understand understand autism, but they clearly didn't, because we've had experiences where, you know, they've said things to my son, and my son will tell me everything. So they've then told me, and I'm like, this is going on. This is going on like Donkey Kong. You're in trouble, lady. We're not going to go into that. But like, you're in trouble because you can't say that to, you know, I think it was a 6-year-old at the time. Like, you shouldn't say that to any child, but to an autistic child, it was just like, it's going to, of course, go in a wrong way, and it's going to go into that wrong direction. Having a niche is so important. And I talk to many providers and actually help providers to understand, because I understand that I think differently. So I understand that other providers who've come into the space, they may have a niche, but they don't know it yet. And they're just like, oh, I've got registered, or I'm, you know, may not even become registered, but they just have, you know, oh, I'm doing, you know, say, for instance, I'm doing social and community, or I'm doing nursing, and, you know, I've been a nurse and I know what I'm doing. It's like, cool. But you can't just be a nurse and be in the space. You need to have a difference. You need to have something that you do super well within that space. I met a lady in Sydney, and I loved her. She goes to me, show me a name, and she goes, I just do incontinence. And I was like, hell yeah, that's awesome. She was so on point. She knew what she wanted to do. This is her experience, and this is what sets her soul on fire. And you could just tell it, and you're like, cool. But what I love is that when people do niches, they become the go-to person. So I have multiple go-to people that I know that, okay, that works within that person, and that works with that person. And, you know, that's who I'll refer to within the industry, in the space, because they're my go-to people and they know what they're doing. And I feel like I think it's like, if you're unsure in your own self and you're just talking about like, yeah, I do this. And as you said before, Hannah, you know, like, we do everything, but you're kind of like a master of none. It's like, it doesn't make, as a parent, I'm just like, do you know what you're doing? Do you know who you are? Like, do you need help? You know, I need people to have an understanding, or having a will to understand, and want to have that help. And that's, you know, one of the things that I do within Support Warrior Marketing, that with my other business, to help providers to actually understand, how do I get to that point? And then how do I communicate my point across to providers? Because you can't just say, hi, I do this, or hi, I'm Karen and I'm a support coordinator. Cool. What do you actually do? Who do you work with? What's your superpower at the end of the day? I want to know what that is, and let's help celebrate that and help promote it out.
Yeah, that sort of flows into a point that I express quite a lot, which is eligibility criteria for your services, for what participants you're going to do, and then not being afraid to say no because that's not your niche. So I think it's really important that you have that defined niche, you know what you're going to accept, and then you use that power of your connections that you've built through networking to then go, actually, I can't do this type of support. It's outside of my scope. But however, I've met this really awesome support coordinator that specializes in LGBTQI space, and you give her Hannah's number or and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but it is.
Say it with hope for you, Hannah.
But it is so true. You know, like, I get really upset with providers who, you know, I've helped in the past, and, you know, a person has contacted them and then they're like, oh no, sorry, we don't do that. And then they just close the door on that, you know, family. And I just, oh God, you've got an open door, because yes, you may not be able to assist, and it's good for you that you've said you can't, and that's not your niche. But you've done a boo-boo in saying that, no, I can't help you, and just close the door. Go to your connection. It's actually going to help you, because people will come back to you because you've actually been kind and you're being thoughtful to go, I can't help, but hey, I know someone who can help you. Because you never know, that person might be like looking, you know, for other services, but they really love your services, but, you know, you're not doing it, and then maybe you decide to do it, and that person could come back, or they could do other services that fit in with what you were doing, you know, and it comes back to you. Good karma comes back. But it definitely is giving that, you know, and it just helps that community grow even more, about connecting and helping each other, rather than going, oh, I just do everything I do all by myself, because it's not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. So you in Support Warrior Marketing, you support providers with their marketing needs, because there's so many ways and different things that you can do. And I think you have different packages, different price points, don't you? So do you want to tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, so I have, I guess it's kind of like the basic, it's like the beginner package, I guess, in some ways, to help providers, because I strongly believe, you got to have a niche. You got to know what your niche is. You got to know how to communicate your niche out, through social media. So that's, having that first, because I feel like it's like when you're, I don't know, it's like when you're ever starting your own business, you want to kind of come out like a bull out of the gate, and you want to come out like, haha, I'm here, but I'm doing awesome stuff. Not like I'm here and I'm here. You kind of want to have a bit more oomph to it. So what I get to help providers is to showcase to them, okay, like, let's talk about what is your why and why you're doing the things that you're doing. What's your niche? How to actually communicate that to providers, how to communicate that through your socials as well. So that's kind of like a starter package that I have. And we do I create their first post for them as well, working with them as well. Then the other package is more about helping, through the social media. And I strongly believe social media is not there to get referrals. I mean, that's always a plus if you can get that, but it's more about having a positive brand awareness. So people are actually getting to know who you actually are and showcasing that. And I call it realism marketing, instead of just, I want to see the real stuff. Like, I want to know about why a person started their business. I want to know the faces of that business. I want to know what sets their soul on fire, makes them happy. And you can't just come in it because I just want to do a business. You've really got to love what you do in this space, because when you don't, it's cutthroat and people will know and people want to connect with you because you're not being real. I want to see, as I said to, I've said to providers before, I don't want to just see someone, you've taken someone to go do grocery shopping and you've got them in, it's like the token pose of the person, standing with the trolley, woohoo, we're going shopping. I actually want to know. And what I say to providers, like we can celebrate that, we can talk about it, but let's talk about how you actually got that person to that point of, okay, did you, what I do with providers is I actually help them to understand how we can actually promote your business and how it can be promoted in a more realism way. And, if you're going to do a grocery post, don't just do the token pose of the person standing next to a grocery, to the trolley. Yes, you can do that, but add more to it and say, we're taking, Bill, our participant, out to do, some independent grocery skills, Bill's needing, he really hates all the loud noise. We used ear-loops. We invested in maybe going in the quiet hour. We had a look, okay, because you've got the maps at the end of the aisles. We've taken photos of that, so we know that for Bill, he only needs to go into like aisle 2, 4 and 15 or something. So we've done preparation. And to me, I like seeing those posts more than we went to the grocery store. I'm like, cool. Everyone goes to the grocery store, gives a bit more. So I like to, I guess what I've said previously, and it sounds a bit odd, but I literally go into people's brains and gets the information of how they're doing things differently, and I actually tell the story for them. And that's what essentially I get to do.
And please, please don't send support coordinators an email with just your registration groups, because that is so annoying. It's nice that you've registered for all these registration groups. I don't care.
I feel like you should give them a gold sticker, like, gold sticker, you did that.
But what are you actually doing with that? What are you actually offering? Like, it drives me mad.
Yeah. I remember days where back when I was operating a support coordination agency, the 50,000 like random Canva ads or MailChimp emails that you'd get. Hi, provider.
Oh yeah.
Ta-da! Yeah, no, painful. That would usually go straight to junk.
It does. It doesn't make you want to read it. Like, to me, I'm like, you need to, I guess, hook a person in a way to know, okay, well, why is it that what are you trying to promote? What is the I guess the need you're trying to fill? But also as well, please, I always say in email introductions, you need to tell them where you actually service, what you're actually doing, and how you can actually be contacted as well. Because I feel like if you don't bother to do that, I think some people think, oh, well, then they're going to email me back. And I'm like, no. They'll put it as to do later, and they may not actually get to that later. And it's not.
Yeah, like, do you have a referral form?
Yeah.
Do I need to fill in a form? Have you sent it to me? Or do I have to fill out a referral on your website? Which is totally fine. Like, either way you want to do it is
How
fine.
do I
but
do
you've got to
things?
tell me in your email how I do that.
I think people forget to, it's like with, talking about yourself. And I remember when I first started doing marketing, and I remember a friend of mine, I go to him, why isn't anyone picking me? And he goes, Karen, they don't know who you are. And I was like, oh, duh, yeah, Drew. That's why I created my brand of I'm the pink-haired lady. And everybody knows me as that, and not known as Karen so much now, which that's completely cool. But that's who my brand is, and that's what I've created. And I love that. But yeah, it's interesting to see when, like I remember I rewrote a provider's support coordinator's email, and she just sounded so boring. And then I, got her story, and I rejigged it, and was like, and she was like, God, I sound good. It's actually me. And I'm like, yeah, because it should be you. It shouldn't be a robot. You should be you. And that's the thing I love about this industry, is that you can be yourself. And I strongly push that, like at KonnectFEST, be yourself, be who you are. Even as when you're helping my providers with, the brand awareness marketing, is like, actually, wouldn't you rather, like, if you're doing this as your, full-time job, to be yourself, don't be fake, don't be someone else. Actually show your true colours, because I read a quote, it's like, people will buy from people. They want to know who you are, and they want to know what you're about.
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't touched on yet?
I guess in regards to KonnectFEST, so there's a bit of a new thing that's kind of come up. I'm always trying to evolve and just make it better for our community, and how can I help providers, and how can I help them even more. So we now have 3 different options for sponsorship. So I've re-nicknamed, because I like little nicknames for things. So the one that is always being done, which is, for the 10-minute time slot. So everything is the same, of having 2 posts prior to the event and having 2 posts after the event. We now have a sponsor table that I force all the sponsors now to stand behind and pretty much, talk when when everyone's coming into the event, so they can then give their goodies out. It's a choice if people want to take it or not. So the 10-minute time slot has just changed slightly. So we've got the first one, which is the hook, line and sinker one, which is the interview that we have. We always have everyone like at the front, just kind of, sat at the front, and we're talking, why did you decide to start your business, and, what makes you unique. So we have that one. We now have 2 other options, which is the second one is share your journey. So I really want to have a space there for a provider. It's not to really promote yourself so much. It's more about, sharing that you're kind of not alone. We've all been there. There's other providers that have been in the industry for much longer. I want them to share their journey and share the tips and hints to where they've gotten. I don't even mind if people talk about maybe a fail that turned into a positive, or maybe that was a negative, because everyone's going to go through these times. I always say owning a business is kind of like being on a roller coaster. Sometimes you really want to get off it, but it's mostly really good. And then the other one is the third one is grow our community. So I wanted to create a space that, for that 10-minute time slot, if there is a provider out there that wants to kind of provide information to our community that's going to help it. And it could be, say, for instance, a counsellor that wants to talk about mental health, and it's not about maybe the mental health of the participants. It could be mental health of, of us, of providers and things like that. I am also as well looking at having outsider services come in and do talks that is going to be, important to the NDIS community. So it could be like, having a good accountant, I think is definitely important. Also like having IT support, and just even like training organisations and other things like that coming out to talk about it, because I think that, yes, we have the NDIS space and I love it, but also there's outer services that can come in and talk to providers for them to understand about things that maybe they've not thought about it, but it could essentially help them as well. So having that change, I'm really excited about it, and a lot of providers are reaching out, which is really great. And there's more events, coming up in Brizzy and Queensland, but also Sydney, Newcastle, Perth, Melbourne. I feel like I go everywhere that are coming up, which is really exciting. And I just love to help, and I love to connect and just support anyone that is doing the great thing and being innovative. And yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that you've got this new idea of how to do those talks.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really exciting. So I will just really quickly talk about how KonnectFEST works.
Yeah.
So first of all, people come into the venue and there's networking time. So this is not defined. You just go in and you might talk to the sponsors at the sponsor table, and you get some morning tea and you chat to people as they kind of come in.
Yeah.
And then in a little bit, Karen will then gather everyone in to sit down. Then there's 10 minutes each for the sponsors to have a chat, have a talk to the whole group in one of those styles. And then there's a break for lunch where, again, we get networking time. And then we come back together for the circle of connection. So the circle of connection is...
I love this idea. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I feel kind of funny I'm saying it to you, but I'm doing it in a really... I want to snapshot it to like put it in a nutshell so that people sort of understand what we're doing. So then everyone sits in a circle, one big circle with everybody, and people just say, hey, I've had this generalized issue. Like sometimes it's like staffing, or it's I've had an issue with, participants not wanting supporters of different ethnicities or, something like that. And so then as a whole community, we get to sort of chat about, oh, well, I've often done it this way, or this person might have an idea about, oh, well, I've sometimes done it this way. And I really love that way of it's also sharing those sort of resources of, because everyone's an expert in what they do. So I love it.
I feel like you get to, what I really loved at the Richlands event is like, I hadn't noticed it previously, like probably had, but really hadn't thought about it. But I loved that everybody inputted it, like gave an input to the situation, but you really got to understand them as a person even more and identified what they do and how they do things. And it kind of it made you want to connect with them even more, because it was like, oh, you actually really get it. And it was, at events, what I love about the Circle of Connection, it's not like, oh, well, you fudged up, like, you made a boo-boo and you've done that. It's more of it's a total safe space. So if you've got a big problem and you're needing a help, we as a community are helping and giving, constructive, ideas to be able to help them. And they come out going, oh, cool, like I've got a group of people that actually care, and we're not in it. We're all in it together. We all make boo-boos. That's okay. That's life. But how do you then do better next time, which I really love. And I have a good friend of mine, he said to me, he goes, well, Karen, like if you're networking and you've got a funny feeling about someone, and then you're in the circle of connection and you're kind of bearing your soul and the person be's a bit of an ass, that you definitely don't want to connect with them later on. It allows you to realise that. But what I found with, KonnectFEST and the Circular Connection, there's no asses there. And I literally say to people, if you think it's a competition, there's the door and you can leave. No one's actually left yet. But it would be funny if anyone did. No one has left. But I think it's just all about empowering one another, and it's okay that we all, if you make a mistake or maybe it's not even making a mistake, but if you're needing help, I think it's cool to be able to do that, because it's a lot of providers, it's not like we have, yes, there's bigger organisations where you can ask, but small providers or medium providers may not have those people. They may not have the people yet to be the go-to people to go, oh my God, I need help.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So our last question, as always, is, in your ideal world, what would the future of the NDIS look like?
Oh, gosh, that's a big question. I think for me is that there's more education for families and participants to actually understand the NDIS and what providers do. Also, that there's more collaboration, there's more connectivity, that there's no bullshit of it's competitiveness. That's just not the way it should be. That we're all helping one another. As you said before, Hannah, that there's experts in fields that what they do. Can't we just be kind and help one another and support one another, and not to allow it to be a competition? But also I think the education side of things for families to actually understand there's a lot of, I feel like, miscommunication or misunderstanding of what the NDIS is and what the different kind of supports it can do and how things can be done. I think more education needs to be around that, and for people to know. And I feel that, say, in the news at the moment, it's very much a negative, because there are bad providers doing bad things. But I would really love for the media to know, and the whole community, of Australia, to realise that there's some really cool people and good things that are coming out, and there's amazing providers doing, incredible work that could essentially help, people to become more independent and grow as people. That's what I'd like to see.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You are more than welcome. I've really loved it. I got very excited to be on the podcast because I absolutely love both of you. And, I know we are friends, but I also admire you professionally and the work that you guys are doing. It is making an impact, on the space. And I feel privileged to be a part of the podcast. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Well, yeah, we've been trying to get you on for a little while now, so we're glad that we've got this one down.
I get a bit busy. Awesome. God help, but everybody wants to see me. No, I'm joking.
Yes, and we'll definitely get you on again in another time.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I'd love to be involved and be a part of this incredible podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I recently went to Richland's KonnectFEST and I took a mic along with me. I asked a series of people who were at KonnectFEST, who are they and what do they love about KonnectFEST? And here's what they had to say. So, who are you?
I'm Rachel Mills. I'm the Senior Service Coordinator for DVT in Brisbane. We're a disability support service. We specialise in children with high care needs. We offer STA, MTA, SIL and community access. We also do transportation. We'll go anywhere in Australia where we're needed.
Awesome. And what do you like about KonnectFEST?
I love the quality of the people that come to these. I think it's a much better dynamic. I love the circular connection where we can all discuss common strategies and issues of the day. I think that's really helpful. It's like a giant brainstorming session, so it really is good.
Awesome. Thanks. Hi, who are you?
I am Jyoti. I represent Kurumara Care, and we are a support provision company. And what I love about KonnectFEST is obviously Karen. She's just wonderful, but everything she brings to the NDIS field and the participants, and just the approach she takes and connects people. Love it.
Awesome, thank you. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Danielle from Angels on Duty. I have met Hannah. This is my 4th time at KonnectFEST.
And what do you like about KonnectFEST?
getting to know people, not just briefly meeting them the once and then never reconnecting. Seeing what other people are achieving for people with disability, some new inventive kind of businesses that aren't just the norm.
Awesome, thank you. So, who are you?
Hello, my name is Tara and I'm from Me Plus More, and I love KonnectFEST because it's super fun, get to meet some great people.
Awesome, thank you. So, who are you?
Hi, I'm Elise. I'm from My Integra Plan Management and Support Coordination. I love coming to KonnectFEST because it is generally like catching up with all of my friends. Everyone here is so wonderful. They provide such great services, and it's great getting to know a little bit more about everybody over tea and coffee.
Awesome, thank you so much. So, who are you?
I'm Sid. I'm from Anakin Healthcare Services, Australia.
Wonderful, and
I'm Kanika. I'm from Anakin Healthcare Service as well.
fantastic. And this is your first time at KonnectFEST. What are you looking forward to?
Yes, it is our first time. Looking forward to meeting different people, like from different parts of NDIS community. So excited to connect with everyone.
Yeah, we're looking forward to connect with people, knowing how it works, and making new connections.
Awesome, thank you. Hey, so who are you?
Good morning. I'm Suliana Mavai, and I'm from Rejoice Healthcare. Actually, it's my first time to be here, so I'm so excited to meet everyone, to have some connection.
Yeah, everyone here is really nice, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So I'm really excited for you being your first time.
Thank you. I'm already excited, and I can feel the vibes here. Everybody is friendly, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of connection and help from here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Please share with people you know. You can email us at whatinthendispod@gmail.com. To contact me, it's hannah@tulipcoordination.com.au, and to contact Sam, it's sam@rosenbaum.consulting. Until next time, as the Green Brothers say, don't forget to be awesome.